Now you hear the sound. By magic. The microphone is turned on. Oh my God, you say, I wish we could just watch your lips move. Anyway, young Max is here to my right just for the first half hour because he is going off this morning to start developing a program on health. He and Steve, who is the guru in terms of what you do, all this sort of stuff and that sort of stuff. And good morning.
Good morning.
And he's going to chase off and go to a gym where they are going to put together a program, a weekly program, Max. Yes, got to get it off.
Yeah,
right. He's going to be a busy boy this autumn, I'll tell you. A really busy boy. We went over some of the stuff that he was going to do yesterday, and he.
I have a plate full.
He's got more programs under his wing than you can shake a stick at. But he's a good lad. He actually is getting a motorbike so he can get here faster and quicker and easier. And not only that, but he'll be able to come in and give us a traffic report each morning. So plenty happening, and we are easing ourselves into it during this week because next on Monday it is a national holiday, bank holiday, and then we will hit things really hard on September the 1st. But in the meantime, we came back from Halls, and we do need to keep you amused, entertained. Yesterday, it was a three. You've seen these wrestling things where they have three in a ring, all battering one another to try and stay top dog. Well, it was like that in this studio yesterday with Stuart here and Max and myself, all taking different viewpoints on different things and yelling and screaming. Thank God I had got the control. So I was able to duck and bow and so on. Right, Max, what's on your mind this morning?
This headline here, actually, inflation is forecasted to hit 18%.
Well,
so
it's pretty frightening.
It is, yeah.
And in fact, some are saying that it'll go even higher than 18%.
I'm saying that, yeah.
Yeah. It's will the bank? Can the bank do something? I mean, the fact of the matter is that central banks. It's not just us that's suffering inflation. It's the world is, and the central banks have taken their eye off the ball, and they've permitted this to happen. They should have been taking action a year ago, but it was unpopular, you see. And that's the trouble, that we've got people in charge of things who are going for popularity more than anything else. And that's very sad. And then we get people in the mix where the dictator, to all intents and purposes, excuse me, I got the hiccups again, in Turkey, has decided the way he's going to beat inflation is to lower interest rates. God help us. I suppose his argument is look, tourism is one of the big money earners. So if I lower interest rates, things will be cheaper than they will be in the rest of the world. Everybody will, oh dear, isn't that a real hick? Did you notice that? A hick, and then a cup after it. Oops. So he thinks that perhaps because of the cheap booze and so on, so forth, that he will get more and more people into his country, and therefore he will get the money and nobody else will. Well, I mean, it's an interesting theory. The only thing is, of course, is that he will help stoke inflation around the world, and that will impact on him unless he can produce absolutely everything internally. Well, the Americans tried that in the 1920s and came unstuck. The recession hit as a result of their policies. And I think that we've got to watch Turkey very carefully because it could help stoke inflation as he reduces interest rates. I don't know what's got into me. I wasn't hicking before.
No.
Now I'm hicking.
I had a question for you. I think the biggest cause of inflation is the government. What do you think the biggest cause of inflation is?
Well, government policies help to stoke inflation. I don't see the government doing much about it at the moment while it's rampant. And the central bank, in other words, the Bank of England, isn't doing much about it. So yes, in the broadest sense, it's government. Whether, in fact, once the country has got a new prime minister, she or he can do anything about it, or they left it too late. But you know my view, and the people that we've got in charge in Westminster, they're lightweights. That they don't really have any sensible policies at all.
Well, the new prime minister will be announced in 15 days.
15 days to Sodom and Gomorrah. Oh, but in fairness, we have no idea whether either Sunak or Truss can become strong leaders. But they haven't shown much in the way of leadership in their debates. They've strutted up and down, but all they've done is they keep on altering their economic policies. And if they're going to do that when they're in power, whichever one is, it's not going to help us very much because nobody will know where they are. So yes, to some extent, inflation is the fault of governments. But this bout of inflation really is perhaps something they couldn't have done anything about, or I'm not sure they shouldn't have tried harder, because it is funny. We tend to good morning. We tend to think that our voice is not heard, and indeed it's not. But one of the things that we've been saying for a long time is, look, Putin will actually go over the border into Ukraine. No. All the experts said no. Now, it just so happens that I had worked in that part of Ukraine, 12 miles from the Russian border, that I spent a lot of time in Russia in the early part of the last decade. And, you get a feel. I'm no expert, but you get a feel who will do what. And Mr. Putin is undoubtedly, who is an enigmatic character. One finds it difficult to read his mind. But it was my view that he wasn't going to be afraid to actually go across the border. And that, in fact, in some parts of Ukraine, he would have been welcomed. And that's exactly what happened. But no. All the experts will be paid huge amounts of money in the Foreign Office and Whitehall, and for that matter, the people that pronounce themselves as being terribly wise, MPs and cabinet ministers. No. So you're right. It is much the fault of government.
Yeah. If they hadn't have printed all that money, we wouldn't be in this mess.
Well,
if they hadn't have locked us down.
Quantitative easing, of course, is. But actually, I wasn't aware that we had a huge quantitative easing. Were we printing money?
Yeah, we printed something like £700 billion.
Did we really?
Yeah.
And was that as part of quantitative easing?
That was a part of COVID loans. That was a part of the.
Just to pay the COVID bill.
Yeah.
Right.
This was so. Remember, the government was paying 80% of the salaries. That was part of that, and it was most of that money disappeared and went into places no one really knows.
Oh,
that was what they printed.
Yeah.
To
right.
With COVID.
Not at all nice. Not at all nice. Now, turning to the news this morning, and it was, how sad to say a death was too late to make the front pages of the newspapers. So before we go to the front pages, is to me one of the most important stories. And yes, some of the major broadcasters have got it right because they have led with this story. And that is that a 9-year-old girl has been shot dead in Liverpool, I think it is.
In Liverpool?
I think so. and she they've arrested several people in relation to it. Are we? The nation is becoming ungovernable. Is people are jaw, and if you want to get your own way, you pull out a gun and you shoot. Bang, bang, you're dead. And that is frightening, because any civilized society has got to observe rule of law. And I'm not sure that we know what rule of law is in this country at the moment. And if we don't follow rule of law, then we become totally uncivilized, and anything can happen to anybody, and there will be no retribution, no going to court. And that's part of the problem with the police at the moment, is a lot of criminals are not going to court, that they are able to get away with not murder, but certainly nicking huge amounts of stuff from houses and homes, and for that matter, thumping people in the streets. And now it would appear as shooting a 9-year-old girl. Oh, dearie, dearie, dearie me. It really is. It's frightening. Absolutely frightening. All right. I think that before we go on to the newspaper headlines, it's time that we just paid a little visit to our potter's wheel. Now, believe me, if you are full of stress and you need a placid place to get away from it all, not only is that park, South Overgrange Park, a wonderful place to go, but within it, there is a Knott's Garden. A Knott's Garden is a symmetrical garden, and in this particular case is surrounded by walls and hedges. In other words, it's an enclosed garden, and it is a lovely place to go and sit for an hour or so. In fact, not this year, because we've been here every day, but in previous years, I've used it as my office, my summer office, and it is very calm and very nice. There's a wind barrier with the walled garden. And all in all, not too bad at all. Not too bad at all. Now, hang on. Hello, Mickey. With all our yelling and screaming yesterday, today we've got Mickey back. Hello, Mickey Connor. I got 2 30-day ban, one after the other, he says. I'm sure that...
we got banned not that long ago as well, actually.
Yeah, everybody's getting banned. It's a badge of honor. Right, Mickey says, when we switch over to the central bank digital currency, does this mean that USA and the UK and other countries with a central bank have a currency of the same value, like with the euro? I don't think so. Well, do you think so? I'm no expert, Mickey, and it's a good question. Tell you what we'll do. We will try and find out the answer at some stage today.
Well, hang on a minute. Talking about the central banking digital currency system, Do you know, right? You know Rishi Sunak and how he's almost a billionaire,
Yes.
but it all comes from his wife's money.
Right.
It comes from his wife's father. Rishi Sunak's father-in-law, the reason he got so rich is because he owns the patents to the Chinese social credit system. And we could possibly have Rishi Sunak in charge when his father-in-law is the owner of the Chinese social credit system. is the one who did the patents for it.
Oh,
that
dear.
is extremely
dear.
concerning.
Yeah, a good question, Mickey. You've got us all trying to find out the answer, and as you say, look it up on the. I have there hiding the answer till the last minute. Oh, I think what he's saying is that they're hiding what the answer is until the very last moment.
Yeah, so that I don't use Google.
I'll get Max just to Google the issue, Mickey, and see what he comes up with. Rishi Sunak also set up his own social credit scare system company. In the UK, credit score system.
I did not.
That is the most iniquitous thing. Do you know something? Is you can get a bad credit score for all sorts of silly reasons, and then they decide whether they'll lend to you or not. It's just absolutely nonsensical that we should be in fear, in worry. To those sort of things, and we shouldn't be. We shouldn't be. Credit scores, one man's credit score is another man's poison.
But with the social credit system that China has, it's not just based on money; it's based on how you think as a citizen. Because obviously it's a very tyrannical country. If you say the wrong thing, your social credit score goes down because it's not a currency system, it's a social currency. It's how good of a person are you.
How the hell do they determine that?
All through AI, all through your phone, everything, they all listen to you.
Well, I'll tell you, it's not only from what I say on this not only do I say naughty things on this program, but also I say naughty things on my phone and so on. So I would imagine that my credit score is worse under this new system than it is under the old system. And believe me, and let me tell you this. I mean, let me, because there have been some sensible articles written recently. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're willing to have a go, if you're willing to take a chances, nobody gives you tuppence. Nobody. You are on your own, and it is very lonely out there. And the establishment, every opportunity they can is they pummel at you because they don't want to see more people succeed. Right? So if you're thinking of becoming an entrepreneur, just make sure you understand it is a tough row to hoe. Nobody gives a fig about entrepreneurs, and yet they are the people that come up with the new ideas. They are the people that come up with different companies, different ways of making money. And should they be given some sort of consideration? Yes, they bloody well should. But you're not going to get anybody in the establishment doing that.
Okay, can I show you this? Mickey Collins makes a good point here with this comment. We can have a social credit score due to our likes and comments on Facebook. So if you like something the government disapproves of, that's your social credit score goes down. That's the Chinese system. For now, it's the Chinese system. I do believe that could become the British system within my lifetime, certainly.
Well, there you are, Mickey. You've got somebody who thinks like you. God help us, Mickey. God help us. But God bless you too, because you are faithful and you're regular, and you pop up and you ask interesting questions. But I do need to get on now and take a look at the headlines. And let's see, what's that newspaper there? The first one is the Times. The Times. Spiraling inflation is forecast to hit 18%. And this is a real worry. I mean, it was bad enough when it was going to hit 7%, but now it's going to hit 18%, and there are some people who are forecasting that it will be an increase of 20%. And that means the value of your money in the shops and its purchasing power keeps on being reduced, until in the end, something that costs £1 now will cost you £3 in 6 months' time. I mean, that's really what inflation will do, is it will take the value out of your purchasing power. I believe that, to put it in perspective, that in Berlin at the very end of the war, that inflation rose to sort of several 100%, and that it was changing almost hourly. What cost twopence at 8 o'clock in the morning cost 10p at 9 o'clock. And if we get into that sort of situation, then God help us. Then God help us. And we are staring at that in many ways. Right, next paper.
Oh, sorry. One more comment down there. Mickey says, the Visa cards can get banned the same way that we get bans on Facebook. People, do you remember the Canadian truckers?
Yes.
Yeah, people who donated to them were having their bank accounts frozen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for donating.
By the bank, or who was freezing it?
By the government. The government were telling the banks to close the accounts because the government didn't like that the people were protesting.
I have a lot of relatives in Canada, and my sister-in-law, who is on the very western part in British Columbia, is very, very scathing in her comments of the Canadian government. One of the things that she is saying and is worrying is that they, first of all, are cutting down on press freedom, that they are really going to town on it, and that they are then beginning to curb freedom of speech of the average citizen. Now, this is a fairly sane, intelligent lady, and if she is saying that, I have to think that Canada, everybody thinks of Canada as being, oh, this lovely country of nice people. Ha ha ha, I've lived there. I've lived there for 17 years, so I know of what I speak.
17 years.
I lived there for 17 years.
Wow.
Yes. So, my life has gone in chunks of 15 years.
Have you lived outside of England longer than you've lived in England over your entire life?
Yeah, I've only just brought it back into leveling right now. Yes. I've been back in. Well, you see, it's difficult to say, Max, because the sort of lifestyle that I've led and the work that I've done is, even though I've been in Lewis since 1990, but during that period, I've lived in Kosovo for 2 years. I've lived in Bosnia for 18 months. I've lived in Romania for 18 months. I've lived in where else have I gone? I've lived in Nigeria for 2 or 3 months. Russia, I've lived there on and off over a period of 3 years. So does that count as being in the UK or abroad?
Abroad.
Right. Well, then in that case, I've still got some catching up to do.
So you've spent most of your life outside?
Yes.
Wow.
One way or another.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But here I am with my trousers glued to the chair this morning with you on the left. Do I understand that Steve is running a little late?
He is, yes.
Right. Okay. So I've got you for a little bit longer. Good. Inflation hit 18%. How will millions, this is the Daily Express, how will millions cope? Now, the Daily Express traditionally is a supporter of government, of this government. And if it's actually beginning to query about how we're all going to cope, then believe me, we are in trouble. We are in trouble. I hate to come on early in the morning and have you wake up to us and us saying gloom and doom and oh my God, look what's happening. But there's no way of softening the blow. We are in a mess, and it's our leaders that have got us into a mess. We haven't got any leaders anyway at the moment. We haven't got any leadership at the moment. Because they're all busy fighting as to who should be a leader of the Conservative Party. But you know, a lot of the grassroots party members have said, bring back Boris, keep Boris. And they have no confidence in the two people that are running for the leadership. Now, in fairness, and I've said this a little earlier, in fairness, we've got to give either of them a chance to prove themselves. But it is sad that we've got lightweights lined up to take over. And much as Boris was a naughty boy, a lightweight he was not. And when it comes to the war in Ukraine, for instance, is the basic players have said, here is a man who has made a decision, and he made it first to support Ukraine. And some of the others dilly-dallied around. Anyway, okay. Let's go to the next paper now. The Daily Telegraph. Refugee host cash should be doubled. Now, this worries me a little bit because there are those people that I 2 or 3 years ago, or just pre-COVID, pre-lockdown, looked after some overseas students from a college in Brighton. And they were delightful, and it was very nice to have them. But at one point, I was no longer able to. And they went off to elsewhere. And they told horrific stories about how people really were taking advantage of them, taking the cash for looking after them and not giving them the sort of thing that they had promised. They didn't have their own room. They found that they were babysitting when the host went to bingo and that sort of thing. All sorts of things are breaking the rules. And that's what always bothers me about people who put up their houses is there are some very good, well-meaning people, but there are also some people who simply make a business of it. And I'm quite sure that a lot of people have made a business of it. So if we're now going to, it said double to £700, so I assume that they get £350 a refugee at the moment. But if the government is going to double that, who are they doubling it to? Are they doubling it to a lot of people who are very dubious, very doubtful characters in looking after these people? I don't get carried away the way that a lot of people. I don't wave flags. I don't march. I don't form organizations. I don't shake tins in the street when we hit these sort of things. And oh, rah, 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 we've got to do our best. Because I sometimes think that we don't look more than just a shallow what's happening right this very second. Is we need to think things through carefully. One of the things that is known, for instance, is when people leave a country under stress, is the first people out and the first people to take advantage are the criminals. In I think it was 1956. After the Hungarian Revolution, is that the people who came into the United Kingdom were so many baddies that everybody couldn't believe that we had decided to look after them. And in Vancouver, when I was living in British Columbia, and as all young journalists do, as I caught the looking after the cop shop, it's the lowest rank really, although it is quite interesting and you certainly learn your trade. But I was talking to the chief constable one day, and he said that his folder for the Chinese community was with about 3 crimes in it until the revolution in China. The Madame Mao's revolution, where a lot of the Chinese left. And he said they came flooding in and we welcomed them into British Columbia. And he said the files of criminality amongst the Chinese just shot up. We almost needed a separate room to have it because the first people out were the tongues. Right? Looks as if we're threatened at home. Let's go abroad. We've got lots of money. We'll go and set up over there. And that is the frightening thing, is that we are not discriminatory in who we actually let in and why we let them in. That was a bit of a rant.
That
Never mind.
was a good rant, though.
Right. So anyway, the host cash should be doubled. People who are looking after Ukraine refugees are going to get 700 quid, or he's suggesting they should get 700 quid. Right. Which paper is this we're looking at? Raab, justice is being held to ransom. I can't see the paper. Can you just this is the Daily Mail. Dominic Raab, justice is being held to ransom. And his rant is about the fact that the remind me what they are again. Not the solicitors, the
Barristers.
The barristers have decided to go on strike, and the barristers are the cutting edge in court.
They want more money, is what they're asking for as well, isn't it?
Yeah, everybody's asking for more money, and it's crazy.
An average salary of £80,000. They can go do one with their, we want more money. You are on plenty of a good wage. No.
Lots of people are on a good wage, and they're the people that are asking for more.
Like train drivers?
Yes, right. And even doctors and medical people who are threatening to go on strike. Now, the legal people are threatening to go on strike. The bus drivers are threatening to go on strike. And they're all very well-paid people.
Bus drivers aren't particularly well-paid.
Are they not?
No, not really.
What are they paid?
I don't know, but I know it's substantially less than train drivers.
Oh, yeah, it is. I mean, but don't make that comparison. Are they reasonably well paid in terms of looking after themselves in our economy? You may be right. I don't know. I
think what their salary is very standard. It's very average.
I think actually that one of the things that we really these people who are going on strike have got to understand is they are lucky to have a job. We are supposed to have full employment. That's BS. It really is, because a lot of those people are the people that are won't go back to work unless they get a very good deal as far as money is concerned, but also that they don't find themselves waiting in a queue to work from home. That is the most iniquitous thing that don't get me going. Right, let's have a look at the next paper, Max. The Guardian. Trust cuts millions from services that kept sewage off UK beaches. Well, it is the Guardian would take that sort of view, I think, and rightly so, because the sewage that is being poured, raw sewage being poured into our oceans, is enormous. And it should not be happening. And it's saying, it's claiming that, sorry?
Well, where does it go instead? It goes on a boat instead and shipped to China where they do processing.
Yeah.
But they just dump it in their ocean anyway.
Yeah. But I mean, actually, there is no reason why some of that stuff shouldn't be treated. Raw sewage can be treated. And it seems to me, I remember, when I was a very young Boy Scout, about 13 or 14, going to look at one of these cleansing plants where raw sewage came in, and it went out as pure water. And to demonstrate, they actually had glasses there, and you offered a glass of water from the water that had been processed.
Did you say yes?
Sewage. Well, yeah, I've always been a bit daring. I did. I'll say I didn't get ill, but one wonders. One wonders. Okay, next headline. The Eye trusts to risk flying blind after a budget pledge U-turn. You see, this is what's beginning to bother me is the two candidates are rightly focusing on the economy and the things that are wrong, how they'll try to help those people suffering badly. But then they change their tune. And I suppose the Eye is right to actually point out that this is happening. But it's one day they're going to cut taxes and not give direct help. And the next they're going to give direct help and not cut taxes. You don't know where we are with them. and that is bothering, because if they're saying that in a leadership race, we're usually used to people in the leadership race saying good things, nice things. This is what I am going to do, when they never really intend to do it. But we're in reverse mode here. Is that some of the things are being talked about, and really is tomorrow they will be talked about in a different vein. Okay, here we go back. Now we get into the silly season. The Mirror, which used to be a very decent newspaper, but now it's Ronaldo doesn't feel sorry. Oh, it's a footballing thing.
Doesn't feel sorry for what?
Ronaldo
doesn't feel sorry at all.
It's a thing that domestic dispute, to all intents and purposes. He left me crying and shaking, and why we ever bothered with this story on newsprint, I will never know. Well, the Mirror has put it on its front page.
You always sort of have to be careful with these big star stories, because I have no idea. I don't know anything about Ronaldo other than he plays for Manchester and his name. That's all I know about him. I don't know anything about football. But the one thing you have to be careful with these big star stories is a lot of people do say fake things just for attention.
Oh, absolutely.
So I don't know.
What's the next newspaper? The Metro. Snowflakes blocking A&E. Well,
they got a picture of Harry Styles next to it. Brilliant.
Right. Well, basically, their story is that an awful lot of people are clogging up the A&E system, the emergency system in hospitals, with trivia. They're going in with a
patient walks into the hospital and demands treatment for dandruff.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I mean, now that is an extreme, but nonetheless, an awful lot of people. It says I think 2/3 of people go in and they're not kept in. In other words, I've cut my finger. What do? Is, well, go home and put a bandage around it and wait for it to heal itself. That's the sort of situation that we're in, and it's rather sad. Now let's see what my lovely Daily Star is saying this morning. The Daily Star: tests prove we benefit from a snooze at work, and it's good for profits. Now, when Max heard me reading this out a little earlier when we were doing some radio stuff, he burst into gales of laughter. What's your reaction to this story?
Utter rubbish. Utter rubbish. The headline is quite funny. Nap to the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, have naps at work for increased productivity and profits.
Well,
I don't think that's true.
Oh, I have to tell you, this company is going to make a lot of money, because I've had my nap, and I can now look forward to a great future. God forbid. Those are the headlines, the front pages, plus the 9-year-old girl who.
Oh yeah, they did say that. One second. Mickey Connors says last week the government said afternoon sleeps could cause heart attacks. They're saying a whole bunch of things like that. Cold showers can cause heart attacks. Afternoon sleeps can cause heart attacks. Sport can cause heart attacks. I'm like, are you sure it's not something else causing these heart attacks? Can't say what it really might be, but. God's sake. There we go.
Thank goodness he was all thumbs. It's normally me that's all thumbs.
Honestly.
Right. That was a little holder, because we do from time to time get involved in music, and Max and I were yesterday morning discussing it, and he made the comment, we should do a bit more with music, and we should. What we really need is somebody to lead it. So if perchance you are enthusiastic about music, and that you're willing to work on a share the income basis, in other words, no salaries, is we would love to have you on board. We've got a nice little crew who are working their hearts out to try and make it work. Sorry?
Ollie is a musician.
Yes, he is. I don't know whether Ollie would be able to spearhead, because he's involved in all sorts of other things. But nonetheless, we can have a word to him. But there is lots. Lewis is a music town. It has got lots of outlets. Almost every pub has an evening where they have musicians. The Con Club is really almost a concert venue now. We have all sorts of concerts in the parks, and there is no reason why we shouldn't actually do far more. And that's what we're just looking at. Right, Max is diving off to see if young Stephen is out there, because they are going to try to do a pilot on a health program. And they are diving off at around 9:30, and it's 9:17 now in Lewes in East Sussex. We're broadcasting from the White Hart Hotel, and look at those rafters, because those rafters covered the head of Tom Paine, who went to the colonies, termed the term the United States, and persuaded the colonists that they should actually fight to divorce themselves from the motherland, from England, which they did. And this is where it all started. So those rafters that you can see, pretty important rafters, covered the head of Tom Paine. Right. Okay. I was well on the way to saying all sorts of important things there, and now I've forgotten what I was going to say. I was going to remove it. There we go.
There we go.
We removed it. And I think there's another one there that we can remove from the studio. Then we can't play it by accident, you see. That's the whole point. I mean, we can do all sorts of cock-ups on this program. We can't do that by accident. Okay, those are the papers. What we will do now is, because I'm going to lose Max, and I don't want to lose
my... me for another 15 minutes.
15 minutes, but what I think we might do is, I noticed that we have here something that proved very popular a couple of weeks ago. And I think that...
Can I just quickly read this one article?
You
first?
Can indeed. You go right ahead.
So I have this article here from This Is Money. Switching to smart meters could give you an increased risks of burglaries, because robbers can actually see. They can hack in to your smart meters and can tell when you're home or not. So having the smart meter can lead to increased risks of burglaries, supposedly.
Right. Yes, I remember you mentioning that. I've always been a bit suspicious of these smart meters. It's another thing in your home that starts to, on the surface, monitor one thing. I'm not so sure that it doesn't monitor other things.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's an Alexa.
Yeah.
We have an Alexa in my house. It's not mine. It wasn't my choice, but we have one. I don't like it. It just irritates me that the fact we have it.
Mickey has he says smart meters will limit the gas and electric when they introduced the social credit score.
Yeah,
right.
that also brings into what we were talking about earlier with the climate lockdowns.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. Now I'm not quite sure which. Let's do a little food since we're on about it.
Okay. Oh, it didn't work.
Here we go.
Why isn't it working?
Mirador's food tip of the week. Hot buttered toast. Have we forgotten how wonderful, simple, hot buttered toast can be? Ingredients simple. Bread and butter. Hot buttered toast. Mirador's food tip of the week. Try it.
Well, there we are. Our food tip is. I think that was it, and we can get rid of that one now.
Yeah.
Removed from the studio. Hot buttered toast. You know, everybody has all sorts of fancy things, and we've forgotten some of the simple things which we had to have immediately after the war. And it's secret militarized armament in residential technology, right? Okay, Mickey, great stuff. I'm going to have to move on, but something is pinging and telling us that somebody somewhere is trying to get hold of us. But I'm afraid that we're in the middle of a broadcast and we can't leave. At least Max can leave because he's on a mission.
I've got filming to do. Yeah.
I'll tell you, boy. Those are going to be aching by the time you finish this morning.
Yeah. Well, I've still got the rest of the day. But
yes. I'm the one that hobbles in the morning and barely walk, and now he is going to hobble in because he's been put through his paces in the gym. We are all hobbling together. And Liza Page, who is about to join Max next week as a co-host for one of the mornings, she hobbles a little too. So we are a hobbling station. And actually Stuart hobbles.
Sure, hobbles.
Yeah. So now we're getting you hobbling because of all this exercise we're going to do. Is we can truly say that our key people are hobblers, absolute hobblers. I haven't checked on our American friends. Suzanne Musho, by the way, came through yesterday and apologized. She'd been traveling and couldn't get back quite in time to come on yesterday. Oh, yes, yesterday. But she did ask if she could come on Thursday. And Thursday is going to be quite an interesting day because we've got Fergus Wood on with wine. And Fergus is going to be leaving us soon, which is unfortunate, but it's mainly because he is going to be a Marine. He's joining the Marines, and he is. I mean, he's a big lanky lad. He's very fit. He's an ex-rugby player, and all in all, we can expect.
I was surprised by that. It doesn't seem like the military type.
I agree with you, but perhaps. He's had enough of being an entrepreneur because you've heard what I said about entrepreneurs. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen to his wine business. I know perhaps Mirador should run it for him. He'd be a fool to let us do that. And also Jane Watkins, I think, should be rejoining us after her stint in Scotland. So it's going to be an interesting. Are you in on Thursday? No, you're not. No, Thursday Max isn't here.
Although on Thursday I'm going to collect my GCSE results.
Oh, right.
For college because I failed maths multiple times because I'm stupid. I'm going to collect my GCSE results.
Max, there are many things I may say about you, and occasionally I do. But stupid ain't one of them.
Well,
you're too clever for your own good, my boy. Too clever.
well, it's my dyslexia that messes it up. But I'm going to collect my results and probably be very disappointed. But we'll see.
Well, the fact of the matter is that you have got your first step up the ladder, career ladder, corporate ladder. So they're not going to be quite as vital to you as they might be or might have been if you hadn't have stumbled across us, or we hadn't stumbled across you, and also that you hadn't taken the college, practicality course, let's call it. So I think that for younger people who are out there are wondering what they should do with their results and so on and so forth, is try to get a job. Doesn't matter what the job is. No job ever. I mean, Max was saying, how have I traveled? I've been a journalist for about 60 years. Oh, my God. But, in my time, and particularly at university, I helped build the Trans-Canada Highway. I was a labourer, right? I had a shovel. I had a pile of dirt, and I moved the pile of dirt from there to there. I was a prison guard. I was a milkman. I was a whole host of other things. I was worked for workmen's compensation. You name it, and I worked in it. And I always thank my lucky stars that I did, because working in those various jobs made me understand what makes people tick, what makes the world go round, and what people's views are about a whole host of things. And in doing those things, they helped me become a good journalist, because I understood rather better than most of my pals just what life was all about, what working was all about, and how people felt at the coal face. So don't worry, Max. You are in a good, safe place, I think. Hopefully, some of your colleagues, even if they get better scores than you, have got to still get into that safe place, a place that can help them move along. Right, okay. I was looking, actually, because somewhere I think that we've got. Let's try this one, because I was looking for the documentary, and we did have one of them with the up on the downs about the racecourse, and people said, "Oh my God, we didn't know all that." So with any luck, let's see if we've got something. Oh no, these are
He sat on the bank while the river still chattered onto him, a babbling procession of the best stories in the world. That was the excitement that Mole experienced in the story Wind in the Willows. And indeed, rivers large and small everywhere all have many stories to tell. The River Ouse that flows through Lewes is no different. In fact, for much of the town's history, it has played an important part. Today, the river carries nothing but pleasure craft. But for a long time, it was a busy, bustling port. About a mile upstream from here is the village of Hamsey. It sits on a triangle of land which splits the river as it curves down towards the town. Hamsey is barely a village today. A few houses with the 13th century church standing in splendid isolation. But Hamsey was a Saxon port in the pre-Norman era. Historians estimate that over 1,000 people lived here, populating a port that saw ships sail up the Ouse to trade goods. There is no doubt that the Normans had a bit to do with its demise. The area was handed over to a Norman lord. But the community was attacked by an enemy it couldn't stop. An army of rats, which disembarked from one of the visiting ships, went ashore and infected the village with bubonic plague. The Black Death. The disease devastated Hamsey. And while there is no historic evidence, legend has it that the residents barricaded themselves in to prevent unaffected people coming in and diseased people getting out. Eventually, they starved to death. Named after the black rats which carried the plague, the Black Death killed over half the population in Britain between 1348 and 1349. The survivors founded another village off Ham, the modern thriving village of Opham. The plague attacked Lewes several times over the following centuries, each time causing significant loss of life. So death continued to stalk Lewes, bringing tragedy to the high street in rather greater measure than other UK high streets. Hamsey gone, but Lewes as a port flourished. Ships and barges plied their trade up and down the Ouse, creating an exciting and bustling waterway. Many of these buildings, which stand on an extension of the high street in an area called Cliff, are built with old ship's timbers. Where Argos now stands was a sailor's pub called the Bear, built as a brewery in 1787, and it succumbed to the carelessness of revelry and burned down in 1918. This quiet domestic street, which runs for a short distance parallel to the Ouse, was the sailors' playground, and history relates that there were more than a dozen brothels successfully operating. Today, this street is known as Little Chelsea. Even the name makes it seem a nice place to live. The rather small abodes have found favour with many modern Louisians and are now favoured homes. And why not? They look good in a twee kind of way. And if you're not living in a former brothel, there are other historical backgrounds to raise the interest. All this talk of pubs and trading around town, it saps my energy. So I sometimes come to this little oasis, the Notts Garden in Southover Park. a lovely little hideaway. Back to the High Street, or at least its extension into the cliff area of Lewes. So I've been wandering around here because Lewes is full of antique stores and models. As I mentioned, go inside some of these shops and you'll find that they're supported by old ship's timbers. Another reminder of the days when Lewes was a port. All this talk of water has made me thirsty. I made several mentions of the time Lewes had 63 pubs. As you would expect, among the 16 that are left, there are some with strong ties to the community. Over the road from the shops, held up by ship's timbers, is the Gardener's Arms. There seems to be a tradition in Lewes, although no one admits to it, of omitting the epithet pub or tavern. This pub is called by locals simply the Gardener's. And the Gardener's it was. The origins of this pub go back to when it was an ordinary house, owned by a gardener. Often, after work, he would invite other gardeners into his front room for a drink. Eventually, it made sense to formalize the ritual. So, it turned into a pub. The Gardener's is a true pub. Unusual now, it only serves pork pies and sausage rolls. Yet each year it's in the top tier of finalists for Pub of the Year. Magnificent. Back to the Street of 1,000 Brothels. Well, perhaps not 1,000, but a few anyway. There's a pub called the Snowdrop. Nice pub, they tell me. Interesting for its name and where it stands. This is the site of England's deadliest avalanche. Just after Christmas in 1836, heavy snow built up on the edge of the downs. There were 7 cottages here where the pub now stands. Despite warnings, the people living there went about their business, totally unconcerned about the snow. Then whoosh, down it came, demolishing 7 cottages and taking the lives of 8 people. Time, gentlemen, please. Not heard now, but the admonishment of past landlords that it was time to quit drinking should have been heeded by the cottagers. A disaster both for the country and the town. A brief mention of one last hostelry, the John Harvey Tavern. Named after the founder of a local brewery, the one of 16 to survive to the modern day, Harvey's has been around since at least 1790. And an important inhabitant. Along with Mole and Ratty on the banks of the River Ouse. More on that later. For the moment, back to the bar. How I wish I'd lived in Lewes when it had 63 pubs. Bliss. On
Maybe on me now.
Lewis, so did I forget the mic again? Oh dear, dear, dear. That is one half of an episode. of our series on Lewis, which actually garnered a great deal of favorable comment a couple of years ago. And in fact, people still stop me in the street and say, "Am I going to do another one?" Yeah, I'd love to. The thing is, it's always time. But now I've got Max tearing around doing all sorts of things. Perhaps we will have time to start. Because you're very keen on documentaries as well, aren't you? Yeah. Perhaps what we'll do is we will do another series, perhaps a 5-part series. Certainly, the Together channel have said that they would like another series, which gives us an opportunity to show right around the country these documentaries, and not just in Lewis. So that's where we stand at the moment, and it is now 9:41. 9:41, and the headlines really in the papers this morning is about inflation, galloping inflation, likely to reach about 18%. 18%, yes.
Yeah.
And that's not looking very good. In the meantime, the ruling party, if you want to put it that way, Conservatives are doing everything about their own misery internally, which is a bit disappointing when we consider that we are ready to face. Well, we're not ready. We are totally ill-prepared to face some of the problems that we've got: rising food prices, rising energy prices, inflation, war, pestilence, and you name it. There was one good headline yesterday, and that is that where we are leaders is in research on various vaccines and medicines to try and attack some of our modern problems. And that, in fact, with one blood test, it's in trials at the moment, one blood test, that 50 variants of cancer can be recognized way before they manifest themselves in the body proper, which gives the doctors a much better fighting chance of overcoming them and not allowing them to ravage the human body in a good many patients the way they do at the moment. Memory failing, just zap your brain with electricity. What's that about, Max?
I don't know. I didn't see this. How did I miss this? I was too busy. Well, I didn't see this headline because I was too busy looking at the one above it. A 6-year-old went skydiving. That's okay. Yeah. All right, whatever. And then zapping the brain with electricity for 20 minutes can improve your memory in older people. For up to a month, studies suggest. This seems like utter nonsense. They're telling you to electrocute yourself to become smarter. I thought that was what made you brain dead.
I don't think
that kills all. That'll kill all the like connecting parts in your brain. That's a terrible idea.
One would have thought. Not terribly wonderful, I don't think. I'm really very worried about that. I suffer from, partly because of age and partly because the Parkinson's, of course, attacks this bit up here. So I do get a bit forgetful. But I'll be damned if I'm actually going to let somebody put a battery lead on my finger and then zap my brain just to see whether, in fact, it improves the memory. I just as soon forget things. Thank you very much. All right. Air chaos until spring as BA Axis scraps 1.8 million more seats, it says. I actually am having worked in the airline industry, this is leaving me confused as to why they would cut back, particularly British Airways. They would cut back on flights when it seems to me that the demand is going to increase, as indeed the lockdown and COVID.
It doesn't make sense. It's like, oh no, our company is dying. What can we do? Push away the customers.
Indeed,
It doesn't make sense at all.
Of course, BA is no longer owned by BA. It's owned by a holding company, and I've forgotten what the name of it is. But once you're with the holding company, of course, all they do is they look at the top line and the bottom line, and they come up with weird and wonderful ideas as to how you will make a profit. But this idea of scrapping 1.8 million more seats, it seems to me to be, we've got trouble.
I'm not staying. There you are.
There you are. He's not staying. We've only got limited trouble.
That's some very bad news for you, so I'm not staying.
Oh dear. What's the bad news, my boy?
Well, it's not really bad news, but that'll be very difficult. Lisa is still in Denmark.
All right.
And
now, shall we tell you, because he's too modest. Are you off?
Yeah.
Right. Well done, Max.
Max
is off to get his pilot of his health show going. So we look forward to the results of that later on.
All right.
Well done, Max. It's all go here. And here is the old man is here, but let me because he's too modest himself. But Stuart is a benefactor, and he puts money into various projects, not least of which is the arts here, and he has put some sponsorship money into the Star Brewery Gallery, run by a lady called Nita Peterson. And Anita has decided that she is going to do, I think it's next month, is it not, Stuart? She's going to do a showing which is for water. It is going to surround water and the pollution thereof, the beauty thereof, all sorts of things. And we're quite interested in this. So first of all, Stuart is going to chat to her about it on this program, and then secondly, that there is a big opening in a couple of weeks' time, and we wanted to do a little something live from there. We've obviously got to talk to Nita, and she is lurking in Denmark. She is Danish, is she not?
Well, she is Danish.
Yeah, I mean she's from Denmark. And as a consequence, we can't get hold of her to make the final arrangements. So that's what's upsetting the old man this morning. Right, Mister. Inflation now supposedly at 18% or heading towards 18%. Come and give us your views on that.
Me?
Yeah.
Well,
You're the expert on these things.
18% is.
Oh, come and sit in front of the camera, for God's sake.
I've got to tell them what I made. I've got to come do some things. All right.
I only want you for 2 minutes just to give your viewpoint on this business of inflation, because it really is getting beyond a joke, is it not?
Well, it's ridiculous, but it's probably the highest it's ever been in this country. But the whole thing has been slightly messed up because the only tool that you've got really to curb inflation is interest rates. And the Bank of England has not been very good in what they've done because they were just giving up. Well, we have to go back a long way. I mean, we've had 3 years of low interest rates, which was very, very good for young people to get mortgages and that kind of thing. And now that is all gone. Because with this kind of interest rates, mortgages are just going to be unattainable for young people getting on the mortgage ladder. That's one thing. There's all kinds of other things which are going to, the food prices going up, the energy prices are going up, and everything is going up like that. And how it's going to be brought down, God only knows. It's very, very difficult, particularly the energy thing, which is which is my speciality, which is now getting totally out of hand in terms of prices going, or the real problem about that, the energy prices, is that the companies are making profits from the increase in the gas price. The people who are supposed to benefit from it are being penalised because the companies, and with their profits, they're giving themselves huge wages. I mean, some of them are getting £1 million a year, for goodness sake. I mean, it's just unconscionable, really. They should not be doing that. They're just they should be putting the money back into the consumers, getting more benefits, more help about their energy price. And it's not happening. It's going the other way around. It's terrible business.
I mean, what happens if this galloping inflation keeps on galloping, Stuart?
Well, I don't think that there must be a sort of capture at some stage. I think it might be. Well, it's not the Weimar Republic, during the Second World War, when the thing went to about 100%, or like South American places where it goes to about 300% and so forth. So I don't think that's likely, but it could probably go up a bit more, which is not funny, and it's going to be very difficult for everybody.
Indeed.
Everything you buy now is going to be more expensive, let's put it that way.
Now, the central banks use raising interest rates to cap it, but Turkey has gone in the opposite direction, and it's reducing interest rates to try and fight its inflation thing. Well, what effect is that going to have?
I have no idea. It beats me. I don't know why you would want to reduce your interest rates at something like this.
I mean, I find that a bit frightening that it would step out of line with all the other banks. But I mean,
but do you really care about them Turks? What happens to them? No.
Well, the funny thing is, of course, is whether we worry about them Turks or not is it's a destination for a lot of people because of sun, sand, and not sangria, but whatever it is that you drink in Turkey. So, will this help their tourist activity or damn it?
I have no idea. I wouldn't know. I've been to Turkey. Didn't like it very much. Istanbul was very nice, very interesting. Actually, if you go down south, there's some very, very nice places. But then, mass tourism, they're going all over the place, aren't they? I mean, there's cheap airfares, really, I think, of spoiled tourism. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, people are going everywhere now, and
but with this BA pulling 1.8 million seats in the next couple of months or so on, is air travel going to remain cheap? We've seen the last of the days of scramble on board for 50
it has
quid.
to remain cheap. You can't do otherwise. Otherwise, it hasn't got any business. But what I don't like about mass tourism is, I used to go to these places when they were real paradises, So when I go to Gatwick and I was going up to my house in the Shetlands, all these people were crowding, and I muttered under my breath, why do these people have to go to China and Bangkok? Why can't they go to Clacton and bloody Blackpool like they used to? But you look, what happened was our generation, it's been the golden, the baby boom after the war. Well, we had everything, didn't we? There was you could save the money for a mortgage. There was full employment. We had triple lock pensions. And we had it everywhere. Now, we used to go as kids, just beach holidays in Brighton and Hastings and that kind of place. But then as people got well off in the 60s, they started going to Spain. Then they went to Greece. Then they went to Bangkok. And now the popular destinations of desire of Cambodia and Vietnam. Well, I know a lot about both places, as you know, and I don't like the idea of despoiling these places.
Yeah.
I don't really like it. It's wrong, but it's not. On the other hand, you see, countries like Vietnam and Cambodia need the money. It's their biggest industry, tourism. You know.
The big problem to me is that, for instance, particularly in Spain and Portugal and so on, is it simply was to get the sun, because the first thing to spring up are English pubs and English Sunday lunches, and so it's no different to being at home, except that you wake up each morning and the sun is shining.
The other point about it is the Costa del Sol was a nice place for gangsters to go, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Barbara Windsor's husband.
Yeah.
Well, the old craze, you know. They're taking liberties, Ron. They're taking liberties. Did you ever read the book? I'll see the film about the Craig twins, about his mum.
I've read articles about the Craig twins. I'm not sure that I've read the book.
They're good boys, man. They're good boys. They used to dress up, and one of the other ones says, when Ronnie Biggs was in Newport prison on Isle of Wight, and his mother used to go down and see him, and he was asked in the interview, "Do you ever regret all the kind of things you do, like murder?" He says, "Yeah, the thing I really regret it is so difficult for my mum to get down and see me in Newport."
Wasn't there an older brother?
Yes, Charlie.
Yes, and he was quite a character as a.
No, he was a bit of a scrap merchant, but you know, he wasn't quite in the same league as that's right. As his brothers, yeah.
And do I recall that something about his wife, that he married somebody and the boys didn't approve of her, so he fell out with them?
Possibly, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know that story.
Yeah. I think we'll look up a bit about Charlie, because the Craig twins is everybody reads about them and finds out about them, and particularly since one of them, which one was in Lewis jail? Reggie.
Well, people here who work here, Ray, who goes into the Gardeners Arms, he used to go there. The point of what it was thought that Ronnie was a real psychopath, really. But Reggie could have been a sort of slightly shady professional businessman.
Right.
You know, he could have made it as a sort of businessman, but then he was always in tow to sort of Ronnie, you know. They're taking liberties, Reggie. They're taking liberties, you know.
Uh-huh. Well, okay. Thank you for staying back. Let's see if we've got other things to. Ratty and the Races, I think is. I just played that, did I not? Well, I tell you what. Let's take a breather and let's like Lewis, shall we? I like playing these things.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a story of a young man. Situation vis-a-vis Russia is that
Yeah, I'm not so convinced of this guy.
I mean, I paid that money.
Really?
To actually,
I gave you a plug this morning. You heard that, did you?
yeah. Well, I mean,
Okay, here we are, and we're just having a little chat about the Star Brewery and the fact that there's an opening coming up, and we hope to be covering that, don't we?
Yes, yeah, we hope
we do.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we've got to get hold of it first.
Well, we as I said earlier, we're trying to get hold of the key person in this whole thing.
Yeah. But the thing about it is, you see, I think Mr. May might want to be interfering.
Well, is be careful because you're alive at the moment, but I know what you're saying, and we'll have to talk about that. We'll chat about that. But I mean, Stuart, you are a great sponsor of the arts, and it would be good that we are able to contribute on making this, a spectacular for Lewis. It's the sort of thing that we need, and
particularly because of what Southern Water's doing. You see, this is the thing of the day. I mean, for example, Southern Water are dumping
absolutely raw sewage
of Seaford and all the other beaches. I mean, it's obscene that the government hasn't done something about Southern Water's crimes, and that's what they are. These families are going off to the beaches only to find those flipping sewers coming up. It's just unconscionable, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, it has become a national issue. Once it becomes a national issue, is the pressure goes on. But there's no reason why we can't put the pressure on locally. And I think what you're doing, this is a very unique way with this this exhibition. But also, we keep on hammering on this program as well. It's the old story. If you say something 20 times, people start to think that you're serious. If you say it just once, they forget it before you finish. So let's keep saying it. The water companies are really culpable because they are pumping raw sewage into our beaches, and not least of which is ultimately it means those beaches will be closed, right?
Well, absolutely. Well,
yeah.
Well, they need to be cleaned up for starters. Well, how do you get the stuff out of the river? Well, it's in the river as well. It's in the river ooze. Company.
Yeah, I mean,
the thing is, we've been going on about the energy prices for how long?
Oh,
I get really cross when I see something because
we started here in April, and your first broadcast was that.
Yeah. And we've got everything right, haven't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, totally right. Yeah, I mean, we really have, it's we really should. Let's just do a little holder, shall we? While we're catching our breath. Thank you, young man, who said what this is about. Is that we do support the art. But it would be nice if we could find somebody who would spearhead because we have those traditions.
Phoned him up,
right,
and I emailed him, and I actually went down to the Lansdowne where he drinks.
Yeah.
Well, he starts speaking. Let's put it that way.
Okay, let's make a statement, right, from Stuart and I. We've been on holiday for 2 weeks. We are now back and sorting a few things out this week. So the programs are a bit rough and ready. But come September the 1st, which is next Tuesday, a week today, we are going to be banging in with some really good programs, which are in the process of being made or whatever. Now, one of the things that we find very difficult is getting people to come back to us. So Stuart has spoken to several people who said, oh, yes, we'd love to be interviewed, and then we can't get hold of them. And it is the same with various other things and other groups. I, for instance, have made an offer to any business on the high street that they can come in here between 8:30 and 11:30. Sometimes they'll find me, sometimes they'll find him, sometimes they'll find Max. But they are more than welcome to walk in just off the street and tell us why they're on the high street, who they are, what they sell, what deals they've got. In other words, anything about their businesses, because we believe in the high street shopping. But has anybody come back and done anything? No. And then they'll bellyache. Oh, nobody is shopping on the high street. Nobody pays attention to us. Well, we're trying to pay attention. But if you're going to be difficult and not help yourselves, we can only bring the horse to water. We can't force you to drink. So it's up to you, both for Stuart who has got a wonderful list of the program that Stuart is doing, apart from Energy Matters, is called Conversations with Stuart Dolby, correct?
Yeah.
And he's got a marvelous list of speakers and interviewees and people that come and chat to him on here. But there are some that have started to speak to him and then suddenly disappear. And that's not only rude, but it also doesn't make life very easy for us, because television, you need to slot things in.
Yeah.
And we need to slot them in. So if you're watching or listening, is get the finger out, get hold of Stuart, get hold of me, and make sure that you're ready to take part, because to save the high street particularly is extremely important. To save our beaches is equally as important, and we're trying to hammer at both. So this is your local television operation. We are here, and we'll break off. We'll break off from anything if you walk in through the front door, and we would love you to do that. So please do.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Mm.
Thank you very much, Stuart, for dropping by this morning. It's always a pleasure when you drop by. We know that you've got a wife who is not terribly well at the moment, and that curtails some of your turning up. But nonetheless, we do appreciate seeing you, and actually the viewers do, because you're a miserable old bloody curmudgeon.
Speak for yourself. God. You're an ancient old curmudgeon.
Yes, a fine mess you've got me into. Yeah, it was quite by accident that the two of us started to work together and started to be funny. And we still are occasionally. No, actually, we are often. We don't see eye to eye about anything, but we do it in our
Knockabout way, yeah.
yes, in our own particular way, because we're good friends, and we actually fight in the most friendly fashion.
We pretend we're Oliver Hardy, don't we?
Yeah, Oliver Hardy and Stan Laurel.
Another fine mess you got into, Stanley. I'll take care of this, Stanley.
Okay, let's take a breather. We'll take a breather, and because it is a long haul, and right now it is 10:13 on the 23rd day of August 2022, with the weather outside sort of quite mild and quite pleasant. It's going to be about 24, with a scattered cloud and a mild breeze. So all in all, not a bad day to be out there. But it's a long haul, and we've got nice little bits and pieces to show you. This one is just, it's only 10 seconds long, but he's been watching Keith Hayes on Mirador Television. Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll come back and have a drink anyway.
And then we'll,
yeah, if we
I'll do that.
All right.
Yeah.
Is our team come and go, and that's what we are here all about, coming and going. There's nothing scheduled. We haven't actually had too many people, but we've been on holiday. But we shall go back to kidnapping people in the corridors of the White Hart and bringing them in here and having a chat, because there are an awful lot of people that are interesting, and they can provide us with some nice information about where they're from, what they think of Lewis, and generally speaking, mostly they're attractive people. Okie dokie. I can go through the papers again in a little while, but I think that it would be nice if there was one other program that we had not really. I don't see it there. So what perhaps we'll do is we'll look elsewhere, shall we? Why not? And see what we've got. There we go. Oh dear, no, it's not there. Nothing matches your search, it says, unless a chance it might. Let's see. Okay, this I think is a rant, and it's in two parts. So let's open up and hope for the best. We're having trouble sharing this. Well, what a pity! What a pity! That's we just had him. Remove. Go away. Now I can hear some people. I can hear some people outside. Oh, lots of people. Oh, some lovely ladies. We might go and see whether any of them are prepared to come and chat on television. Why not? We can ask, can't we? But what we need to do is to find some nice things that. Let's see what that's all about. Says my movie.
Join Mirador Television live from the heart of Lewis, from the White Hart. Starting live is coming Tuesday at 9:30 each weekday for 2 hours. Drop by and join the fun. Mirador Television live from the White Hart. Join us.
Okay, that's a little reminder about where we are, who we are, and so on. I don't know what random means, so we could have a go at that. Well, it's a nice little a bit of random pictures from programs that we've had on Mirador. It's 20 minutes past 10. I would actually I would actually go through the headlines again, but they've been removed. Never mind. We'll clear the decks, and we'll see what else we might have. Here's a promo which we should play from time to time.
Join Mirador Television live from the heart of Lewis, from the White Hart, starting live at 9:30 each weekday for 2 hours. Drop by and join the fun. Mirador Television live from the White Hart. Join us.
Okie dokie. Well, I think that we can. That's not helping us. Indeed, it is not. So while we're searching, you can take a look at my lovely face, and we'll. Now here's something that we. No, I'll tell you what. Let us do. We co-produced a piece about battle and about the Battle of Lewis. About the Norman conquest. And I think that it might be a good idea to re-show that because it's interesting and it hasn't been shown half enough. So here we go. Let's open it up and.
My name is Alan Judd, and I'm here to introduce you to the historic market town of Battle. Battle, so named because it was the site of the famous Battle of Hastings in 1066, although it's not in Hastings. We are in fact 6 miles inland from Hastings. And what better place to start to explain the history of what happened here and why than the Battle Museum of Local History, where first of all we'll look at some of the weaponry that was used. Now, one of the most interesting exhibits in the museum, found at the site of the battle, is this axe head, verified as the kind of axe head that was certainly in use at the time. And this is what the axe head would have looked like at the time. This replica was made with the exact same techniques as would have been used in 1066. And this axe would have been used to kill men, not only men, I'm afraid horses too. The battle and the events leading up to it are very well known, and they are portrayed in the famous Bayeux tapestry, a copy of part of which is on display in the museum. The Bayeux tapestry is not the only tapestry that tells us about the Battle of Hastings and indeed its aftermath. A much more modern one was produced recently by local volunteers and visitors to the town. That tells us about the foundation of the town from after the battle in October 1066 to the founding of St Mary's Church in 1115. This is Natasha Williams, English Heritage's property manager for properties in Sussex. She's going to tell us how the battle came to be fought here and what happened. Natasha, why here? Why was the battle fought here? Why do we have the abbey here?
The story starts with Edward the Confessor, who was king at the start of 1066. He died in January and he didn't have an heir, so it left a vacuum for the Kingdom of England. Multiple contenders who wanted the throne. This went on for pretty much the whole year and then culminated in October with the Battle of Hastings. This is what we term as the battlefield now. Now you've got to remember, at the time there were no buildings here. The landscape has changed a lot and it would have been over this whole area. The daffodils would not have been here. It wouldn't have been this bright sunny day, as obviously it was in October. So the landscape will have changed quite dramatically.
So can you tell us exactly what happened and where?
So we're now standing on what is known as Senlac Hill. This is the site of the battle, and as you can see, the slope here is very important to what happened. You can see a little bit of a slope now, but you just need to imagine it went a lot further up because they levelled off the hilltop when they built the abbey. So this is the spot that Harold chose to stand against William. William was coming from the coast and Harold knew that he would be making his way to London. So he picked out this hillside because it was the perfect place to defend and William had to come past it. He effectively surprised William because William didn't expect Harold to be here quite this quickly. So at the top of the hill, Harold formed his shield wall, and all he had to do was hold that shield wall until William arrived and the battle continued.
Can you tell us a little more about the shield wall, what exactly it was and how it happened?
The Saxon shield wall was a traditional Saxon tactic for warfare. They'd used it numerous times before and it was generally very successful. They would pick their battleground, so top of the hilltop, the Saxon army would have spread out probably about a mile long, all standing with their shields in front of them, and they formed a very formidable defence. All they had to do was stay at the top of that hill. William was at the bottom. His challenge was making his way up the hill, bearing in mind they had all their armour on, they were carrying extremely heavy weapons. It was enough of a feat just to make it to the top, let alone try and fight anyone with that wall in front of you.
Natasha, can you describe to us what happened that day in October 1066 on this spot?
You have to use your imagination. So 14th of October 1066, you had Harold's Saxon army at the top of the hill and you had the Norman army at the bottom. Saxons with their shield wall, the Normans raring to go to come up, but it was a bit of a standstill. Etiquette of battle, who would go first? Now, one of William's jesters, a gentleman named Taillefer, rode his horse in the middle of the two lines, shouting songs, mocking the Saxons, a bit of warfare cries beforehand, and one of the Saxon army archers got a bit excited and shot him, which was effectively the start of the battle. The Normans rushed forwards. All the Saxons had to do was stand firm with their shield wall, and the Normans rushed up the hill but couldn't get anywhere. And this happened a couple of times before William realised they had to change their tactics. He came up with a plan. He got a couple of his troops to rush forwards, but then retreat, acting fearful. He did this a couple of times until the Saxons got excited. They thought that they were winning, they'd made a breakthrough. The Norman army was retreating, and they followed them down the hill, effectively breaking the shield wall. And this was the turning point for William. He was able to now come round the back of them and attack them from multiple sides. Once the shield wall had been broken, the Norman army were more powerful, they had more improved weaponry, and they hadn't just fought a battle up in York like the Saxons had. So it was only a matter of time before the battle was decided.
We can say then that it all ended here. Harold was killed. We'd have been surrounded by blood and gore and bodies and goodness knows what else at this spot.
Yes, well, should we go have a look? This is said to be the spot where Harold was killed. The high altar of the abbey was placed here specifically to commemorate that. Now, when he was killed, his body was so badly mutilated that they had to bring in his wife to identify it later on. And William, he was very religious, so he wanted to build something on the site to give penance to all the blood that had been shed. Hence the reason that this Benedictine monastery was built on this very site.
And so the town of Battle grew up around the abbey, around this.
Yes, yeah, where the Benedictine monks couldn't sustain themselves, they needed craftspeople, skilled labourers to come and help them establish community here, which is how the town grew up around the abbey. And they even built the church that you see in the background here as a place for the townspeople to worship.
And we'll be going into that church in a later instalment.
Every year, on the weekend nearest the 14th of October, English Heritage holds a reenactment of the Battle of Hastings here at site. It involves reenactors from not only England, but Europe as well. We get people coming over from Normandy, and it attracts thousands of visitors from all over the world who come specifically to see the reenactment. It's a great event. Not only is there the battle, there's weaponry demonstrations and living history, so you get to see people as they were in 1066.
The Battle of Battle. The people in Battle get very upset when it's called the Battle of Hastings, because they say Battle Abbey is right on the site of the battle itself. It's right on the site where Harold got shot in the eye, and it's right on the site where William started his proper conquest of Saxon Britain. And where all sorts of things happened. So that little video presentation is by the people of Battle themselves, and is stating their case for the Battle of Hastings to be called the Battle of Battle. And Battle is a nice little town. I forget, somebody said to me yesterday they went to Battle. Just, I actually, if I'm going to take myself off somewhere, Battle is a place that I quite like going to. It's very ancient. It's fairly twee, a bit like Lewis, really. It's good fun, very quiet. Not a lot of things that you. Once you've been through the battle, through the abbey, and you've settled into one of the very decent pubs there, and they are some very nice pubs, no question. Then you have to really want to sit down and just watch the world go by. Well, it's very easy in Battle to do that. So I would recommend Battle, and Rye is another place to go to where the whole ambience is very nice. And generally speaking, what I was going to do is I was going to show you Lewis from a different angle. So let's do that. Let's take a look. Now there's no sound on this, but you can get some idea. Miss Dynamite just came into the bar. She hasn't been here for the last couple of days, so we're glad to see her back. Come and say hello, Miss Dynamite. You're not pouring. Are you pouring a beer for the old man?
I am indeed. Hello. Good.
Right.
Good morning, everybody.
Hang on. There you go. Come and yes. Here she is. Is back. Did you have a good few days off?
I did. Well earned, I'm sure.
You were missed.
Oh,
I came in the other morning and I threw my arms around who I thought it was you, and it turned out to be Wes.
Oh, I'll tell him you said that. See you in a bit.
All right, good to see you. Okie dokie. That's his. Right, we'll go back now to looking at Lewis from the rooftops. Yeah, there we go.
Thank you.
And here's another version for you to take a look at. There you go. Yes, I found another interesting one. I think is our ghost story, so we'll show you one of our ghost stories, which we're reasonably proud. Let's go and rescue it from its resting place. A ghost train. Here we go.
Many people find commuting by train tiresome. But one of the pleasures of taking a train to London is that it passes through some of the most beautiful countryside in the UK. None more so than the view of the countryside as the line approaches Clayton Tunnel, just north of Brighton. The tunnel is the longest on the line, at 1.25 miles, running under the South Downs. It's unusual because the entrance is not the usual railway brick. It is instead designed to look like the gateway to a castle. On top is a cottage built for the railway's lightkeeper in 1849. The tunnel itself was opened in 1841 and the cottage added later. Idyllic. But after 1861 it became a nightmare, or at least for those who believe in ghostly goings-on. In August of that year, a night train left Brighton, travelling north to London. Partway through the tunnel, it stopped at what it thought was a danger signal from the lightman. The engine driver was correct. The railway official had indeed given a danger signal, but the train had rushed past him before pulling up. Thinking the train had cleared the tunnel, the unfortunate lightman gave the all clear to a following train. And it slammed into the back of the first train in the dark, killing 23 and injuring 176 more. It was the worst ever accident on the line. And people walking on the downs over the underground passage have reported hearing the screams of the passengers as the trains piled into each other. The line is now also a direct line from Lewes. I've travelled through that tunnel 1,000 times. I've never heard a scream other than the screech of the wheels and brakes. But I've never walked over the downs at that point either. And I turned down an invitation to stay in the cottage overnight. In fact, I get tense each time I go into the tunnel, knowing what had happened more than 165 years ago. But my fellow passengers carry on reading their newspapers, obviously oblivious to both the tragedy and the ghosts. I could sometimes scream at them. The ghosts of Clayton Tunnel. Eerie. Bloody eerie.
Well, there you go. That's the ghost of Clayton Tunnel. That is a very real ghost story. And that accident, the worst of its time, actually the worst in the railway's history at that time, in the mid-1800s, was also very, very real. And the fact that they were laid out because they were wanting to get away from the railway track is also very true. So when you're looking at that, you're looking at a piece of history which has been forgotten, railway history. Okay, now I think that it is 10:49, and we can let's take a look back to the time when we did something called Scene in Sussex, and which I would like to resurrect. Here, what Scene in Sussex was all about.
Well, good morning, and my usual rant. Just let me remind you that this day, Thursday, and also tomorrow, people are collecting or using coffee mornings for Macmillan, the well-known cancer charity, and if you can support that, I would urge you to. My own wife, my late wife, had breast cancer and managed to beat it with the help of Macmillan. So I'm very keen on this charity, and tomorrow, Friday, we'll actually be broadcasting from Lewis Station, where the station staff, along with my favourite runaway bistro cafe, will be raising money for Macmillan. So don't often make appeals like this on this programme, but this one is special, and I hope you'll join us tomorrow when we try to have a bit of fun down at the station supporting Macmillan for the morning. I escaped jail yesterday. Give credit where credit is due. Lewis District Council, with whom I've got the argument, responded when I attended court. I never actually did get into the magistrates' court at all. They withdrew the summons before that happened. And for once, I had a decent sort of chap to talk to who listened to what I had to say. Customer First, I don't know whether he's part of Customer First, but Customer First, when they just use email and so on, don't have a clue. Not a clue. So I'm not being very forgiving for them for that. But yesterday they had a chap who was willing to listen to the case, decided that it could be resolved, and is trying hard to resolve it. And between us, let's see if we can come to some conclusion. But at least I was quite impressed with what LDC did yesterday in that particular instance. If they get some PR help now, might be okay. Incidentally, one of the strange things I find is everybody wants a password nowadays. We're absolutely paranoid about passwords, and I can't remember them all, and I don't really feel like going through the process of keep on starting a new one for everything I look at. But you go to Lewis District Council's website, and it tells you, here are some press releases, and here's what we're doing, and so on and so forth. And you press on the piece that you're interested in reading, and you have to go and fill in, get a password and all the rest of it. Well, we're past that, I think. I'm 78, and even I realise that most people nowadays just want to tap and be done with it. Yeah, some people are doing the finger thing, and some people are paying for their coffee with their phone and so on. I haven't got quite that far, but nonetheless, one tap and that should be it. And somehow, somewhere, one of the brains that gets behind all these things, even if they're security conscious, have got to do away with this password for absolutely everything. I do understand, I think, that there is a way of getting one password for everything that you do, but I suppose that's slightly dangerous. But the other thing is I don't quite understand how to do it, and until somebody explains, then I urge, let's do something about not having passwords for absolutely everything that we do. We're having passwords to breathe next. I'm just keeping an eye here because I try hard to keep to 5 minutes for this particular rant. So my rant is that I'm not in jail, that I'm discussing things with the council at long last. Mind you, I asked them last July, if we could get together and have a chat. That fell on deaf ears. The top brass aren't that interested in talking to people like me. Oh my goodness me, no. But nonetheless, we seem to be getting somewhere with a resolution, and that's a result, I suppose. All right, so tomorrow I shall see you down at the station. The trains aren't really getting any better. Mine was late 15 minutes getting into Victoria the other morning. When was that? Yesterday, the day before. There's a bit of chaos in the evening, and nobody knew which platform for a little while that the train was going to come in on, and then when it did, it was jam-packed within seconds. The train that I used to take at 8:45 in the morning, which was a lovely train, used to be an 8-coacher, sometimes a 12-coacher. Sometimes it was a 4 and an 8, and it joined up in Lewis. Now it's just 4 coaches, and of course you're fighting for a seat, and that's the sort of thing that the train companies now need to look at. Is if they haven't got enough coaches or trains or whatever, don't put them on the schedule, but it's just making life miserable, and they're getting the flack for it. Okay, short rant this morning, and there we are. I'm a free man. Woo! And I'd worn my Russian hat just in case I got thrown into the gulag. But we'll see you tomorrow, and at the moment the weather is looking pretty good, so perhaps we'll have a fine weekend, at least one where the heat will work up a thirst. Till then, toodle-pip.
Well, there you are. One of our programs from the past. So we have been around for some time. And a few interesting things there. Of course, be careful about watching that weather forecast. It's not for today. The weather forecast for today is that we're going to reach about 24. It is the 23rd day of August. It's a Tuesday. And it is the year of 2022. Not an auspicious year. A year that unfortunately has brought a lot of misery and grief, and looks as if it's going to continue to do so. So that's it for today. Just let me tell you, we have come back off holiday. We are sorting out one or two things. We are going to show you new programs plus some old ones. The new ones is we're going to have a health spa session with Steve from the hotel here, from the leisure centre, and Max, who admits that he needs to lose weight. We are going to have Everybody's Got a Story from Liza Page. We are going to have a variety of comments from New York, from the United States, and from around the country. We are going to have Sarah Fitch-Hayes back doing her art program, which is always great fun. It really is great fun. And we shall be doing some spot stuff, such as the art gallery, the brewery art gallery, where they have exhibitions and shows. And there are a whole host of other things that we've got going. Interviewing people, interesting people, keeping our eye on the economy and particularly energy, where we're way ahead of the pack. And a little review each day of the newspapers. So there is plenty for everyone. And we would ask you to give us a try, to join in. Yes, even occasionally the odd cowboy hat catching fire. That's what they call a hot western. All right, it's been good to be with you this morning. As you can see, we are trying to sort things out as we go along, and we do expect to be looking somewhat smoother come next Monday. Sorry, next Tuesday, because next Monday is a holiday, and we're all going to take the day off before we start to move into the autumn and into the winter schedule, of which we've got a number of programs. So from the team: Max Hurd, Stuart Dolby, Liza Page, Fergus Wood, Jane Watkins. Who else is on board? Well, we've got a good team. Let me put it that way: a good team. And we will be bringing you as much different information and entertainment, but certainly also our views on what's happening in the whole of the United Kingdom, and for that matter, the whole of the world. So join us. Mirador Television. It's on Facebook. It's on YouTube. It's on other social media. and plenty of outlets that you can find us, keep us company, and give us a little bit of soap and water, keep our mouths clean, and to tell you what, in our opinion, is going on in terms of the matters pertinent to Lewis. But as we say, we are the biggest little television station in the world. And by that we mean, yes, we are local, but we are not parochial. We deal in local stuff, but really our local stuff is of interest to people in the world. And local stuff in other parts of the world is interesting to us because it brings us together to show us that we are not alone in some of the silly things that happen to us in our town, in our county, and in our country. So I hope that you'll stay with us. I don't expect you to stay with us just out the entire 4.5 hours. Goodness gracious me, now 3.5 hours. But do dip in and out and join us, and for that matter, coming into the White Hart and get involved, be on telly, be part of Lewis Mirador Television. So that's it for this morning. I'm very pleased that we have had you for company, and I would hope that one way or another we kept you well. What shall we say? Happy. Is that the word? Happy. Here we go. Toodle pip until tomorrow at the same time. I'm Keith Hayes. So let's say goodbye, shall we? Yeah, why not? Let's say goodbye.